Hello and welcome to the Flicks Forum podcast with Jesse and MJ, where each episode we go back and look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. This is the 22nd day of Podmas, where we are putting out an episode every day in the lead up to Christmas. Today we have Netflix's 70th film. It's the 2018 romantic neo-noir sci-fi film Mute. It's directed by Duncan Jones, stars Alexander Skarsgard, Paul Rudd and Justin Theroux. And we have a special guest joining us again since the start of Christmas, which wasn't that long ago, but we have Simo back. Hi.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. It's been, 3 weeks now? And
yeah.
Ray reviews from me last
episode. I was going to say, it must have been not too bad that
we've asked you back.
We've got back in, and thank you for
you still
inviting
me.
Though,
if you don't perform, like that's.
I was going to say, how many podcasts until I feel happy?
Become a regular, or
I wasn't say regular. I'm just say
we'll discuss it at our next board meeting.
All right. Anyway, happy to be here. Thank you.
Good. So this one, excited?
Can we just right off the bat? We obviously have had a bet throughout the entirety of Podmas.
We have about Christmas.
Halfway through the Podmas. Do you want to just say it?
Sure.
Away?
So we've had a little few bets where we thought, hey, we need to get some Christmas references in some films, and we've had 2 films. And then I went triple or nothing to say, are we going to have another Christmas reference? And thank God we didn't.
There was a few, and I was watching it, there was like Christmas carols on or whatever, and I was like, damn it. And I'm like, you know what, maybe Jesse, you're right, nah, he'll
I was listening, I was like, I know that song, but it's in German. I was like, that's Jingle Bells.
Yeah, I know.
So I was like, bang. And then there's like Christmas trees in the shopping mall. There was...
So whatever the stakes were, you get 3 times the amount.
I'm so excited. Yeah. So excited.
I'm not going to quadruple or nothing with 2 more days to go or whatever it is.
I'm happy with that. It's a good win.
Well done, mate.
I don't even want to take the win for that. So, we like to start our show with our fast flicks, where we do a quick summary of the film. We're going to start with our guest, Simo, today. You can give us your rundown of this film.
I was happy with my fast flicks last time I was on. This one, all right, we'll see. Here we go. Based in the future, Mute tells the story of one man who can't speak and another who can't seem to stop speaking. Their lives become intertwined, and it's their voice, or lack of, that gets them into trouble. A tale that's 1 part sci-fi, 1 part romance, and 1 part I have no idea. Both characters feel trapped in a world they now live in.
This is good.
Yeah. You've got a bit going on there. I like that. That was pretty heavy.
Nice characterization of the 2 main characters.
Yeah.
Very nicely done.
I need to bring something to the table.
No, that was good, yeah.
That's good. MJ, what do you think?
Well, I've just got, in a futuristic society, a mute Amish man navigates the gritty underworld club scene to find his missing girlfriend.
Good. Your voice sounds a little bit deep today. What's going on?
Yeah, well, you guys do know because we've been talking about it. But I did have a Christmas party last night, so a little bit under the weather. We've gone for a morning recording today. So, but anything for the cause.
Good. All right,
you're letting him off a little bit easy there.
Yeah, well, I was trying to think of some joke about being mute. Just didn't play out.
Maybe that would have been good. I could have come into this film as Alexander Skarsgard's character. And we could have recorded like that.
And you could have just sat there and
just not done it. And you go, MJ's definitely here. I can promise.
Just throw me in the deep end.
He's holding his breath or something.
So my fast flicks is a mute man goes on a whodunit chase looking for the love of his life. Done.
Good.
Okay, we're going to spoil this film quite early.
Spoilers.
So if you want to watch it, go watch it, come back. What have we found out about this film, MJ?
Yep.
I want to hear that deep, lovely voice. It's very, very attractive.
Well, there's a bit going on with this film. Duncan Jones, the director, a bit of a pride and joy of his, was basically stuck in development hell for a long time. Whether it was getting someone to pick it up, someone to fund it, getting people attached to it. But he has basically... Have you guys seen Moon?
I know of Moon and I haven't seen it, but obviously there's a connection with this one.
There is, which I've seen Moon and I love Moon. It's an awesome film. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend anyone who's listening. But I didn't pick up the references whilst watching this, and the stuff that I was reading, I was like, man, that's really cool. I wish I had have picked that up. But basically, he wrote this, or he penned this film before Moon, which released in 2009, and basically it seemed to me that Sam Rockwell, he wanted to cast Sam Rockwell as
Leo. Sorry.
Sam Rockwell wanted the role of Leo. He wanted him for the role that Paul Rudd played. And then it was kind of like, okay, this is not going to work out. So then Duncan Jones like, you know what, I'll write you a movie. and he wrote Moon for Sam Rockwell. So he sort of sees this as like living in the same universe as Moon, despite being very different films, I must say.
Yeah. The only thing that I picked up was that scene in the cafe where they got the TV screen in the background.
I should have rewatched that because I read about it, but I didn't. When I was watching it, I wasn't thinking it, but obviously they referenced.
I haven't seen Moon, but I was like, you've got Sam Rockwell just on the screen for one little thing. It's got to have some sort of.
Well, that was he said
meaning to
he
it.
wanted to have more references to it, but they had Sam Rockwell for one day for shooting. So like, well, we can't really do much here.
Because as we go on, I know you do a section about questions, and I have a lot of questions with the movie, so I'm not sure.
Please feel free if we talk about whatever you want to ask a question about.
But I mean, one of my questions was like the stuff that was on the TV. So if someone hadn't watched Moon, is there like a lot of things that we're missing? Or
I think it's more of a tribute to it rather than you missed a plot point because of it. There was nothing about that changed what happened in Mute. It's just basically saying this is existing in the same universe.
Yeah. All right. So, what else?
So Netflix came on board basically because of Stuart Finnegan, the producer. And basically it seems to me like they just had the right combination of budget and cast for Netflix to be like, yeah, this is probably going to be worth our while. We can make this film with this budget. We think with this cast we're going to get X amount of people to watch it, or we can advertise it the way we want to advertise it. And it fit their little slot, and that's how they make their films, right?
Yep. Yeah. So it was filmed in 2016.
Yeah,
in
2016.
September. So it came out in Feb 2018.
So it filmed in 2016, and then Netflix, I think Netflix picked it up in like November 2016 or something.
Okay.
So they sort of picked it up just after they'd started making it. I think I read that somewhere.
Yeah, good. All right. Well, the thing there's a couple of little bits and pieces, but I had no idea. So the director, his dad's David Bowie.
Yeah, correct.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that little tribute at the end with the two names. So it was his dad, which was David Bowie, and his nanny, which I thought that was. But I had no idea that his dad was David Bowie.
What's David Bowie's normal name? Because I saw it come up.
David Bowie's name is David Jones.
David Jones. Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah. Because I saw that and I had a question like, but obviously I didn't know.
Yeah, I didn't know that was his name.
Yeah.
And I obviously didn't. I didn't know Duncan Jones was his.
No, there's a couple. So this film was almost made into an animated film with CGI instead of live action.
I think that was the thing. Like Duncan Jones was so into this film. He's like, I guess when you have a project where you're like, this has to get made, and it wasn't working any other way, and he's like, well, this could be a way to do it, but he said it just wouldn't have worked the way he wanted to do it.
It was filmed in Germany.
Obviously, it was based
Berlin,
in Berlin, wasn't it?
based in Berlin. There was a little David Hasselhoff reference on the currency, on the money, which was pretty cool.
I saw that and I thought it was cool, but did it have to be based in Berlin? There was a lot of shots. Obviously, it's based in the future and all the things like that. Did it feel very overwhelmingly Berlin to you? I felt like they put up on screen saying, "This is Berlin," kind of to try and tell you
where it
because
was.
Otherwise, I think maybe because it's in the future they're trying to do it, but it didn't. I think if you didn't know and they didn't tell you, there's a lot of things you just wouldn't know.
Didn't even need to know that, I guess.
It was originally conceived as a British gangster movie, which is so different. And then they changed the idea to make it in Tokyo, and they wanted Ken Watanabe to be Leo. And that's when, after the success of Moon, is when Duncan Jones rewrote it to make it exist in the future.
Okay.
I wonder.
And apparently he's got a third film that he wants to tie in somewhere.
So this is what I'm confused with this, because they're saying it's part of like this trilogy, but then I've also heard that Source Code is part of that trilogy, because Source Code's another Duncan Jones film, but another article sort of said there's a third film that we don't know about yet that exists in it. So because I can see Source Code existing in this, right? It kind of makes sense to have that futuristic type
feel. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It won some awards.
I didn't check that.
It won. It didn't win. It was nominated. So it was nominated for the best production design for an independent feature film at the British Film Designer Guild Awards.
Specific, but I that makes sense. That was.
Would you classify Netflix films as independent films though?
Well, it's not necessarily a Netflix film. Like, I don't think you can say a Netflix film is or isn't independent. I think there's some independent films that are Netflix original films because they pick them up from
Production companies.
Yeah, and they also pick them up basically after they've been at film festivals. So
Yeah.
And is it?
I don't know if this one fits in.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering. Yeah.
I think there's a question for the Flix Forum guys. Do you feel like as you're going through the movies, now you're what number is this?
70.
70. It's
Does
number
it feel
70.
like less independent as we kind of go through it? And obviously there's a lot of big ones.
I think it's
coming
just
out.
a big mix, and that's
It's
probably
massive
the
mix.
appeal of Netflix is they've got this scattergun approach where, as opposed to like cinematic releases, let's look at say Disney, they're trying to make a film that everybody wants to see, whereas Netflix wants to make films for everybody. So there'll be 10 films and you'll like 3 of them, and Jesse will like 3 of them, and I'll like 4 of them, and that's how they do it.
Any reason why you like more than us?
Just just a little bit more positive than you guys.
Yeah.
Based on the history of how your
Hey,
ratings, yeah.
Yesterday we completely disagreed in the movie, and it hasn't gone away with me. All right, so
Okay, good. So
1.5 stars, irreplaceable. You, Jesse, come on.
that was yesterday. We moved on. It's a new day. It's a fresh day.
You've moved on.
I've moved on. So this is one I actually had one of those Netflix percentage matches for this one. And it's been a couple of days since I've had that. Did you have one?
I did. Yep.
Yeah. What did you have?
79.
79. I had 83.
Pretty close.
Very close.
I wonder why I got 79.
Yeah, I have no idea why I got
I
83.
feel
either.
like I haven't watched many movies with futuristic
Yeah.
mutants who are Amish, so I don't know where they got that.
Maybe because you like Ark. And they're like, yeah, you might
Maybe
like this.
actually, yeah, maybe. That's a good call.
The only other thing, there's a character in there called Duck, and then towards the end you find out that his name is Donald.
Yeah.
I was like, that's 2 days in a row we've had a
Oh,
Donald
yeah.
Duck reference.
That's true.
Yesterday there was a bit about Donald
There was
Duck's
a bit about
surname.
Donald Duck,
So
yeah. No, his middle name.
middle name.
Yeah.
All right, some consensus time.
Consensus. Yeah.
What have you got? What sort of audience critical consensus to share?
IMDb is sitting at 5.4 out of 10 off nearly 27,000 ratings. Letterboxd is at 2.2 out of 5 off 16,000 ratings. Pretty ordinary, to be honest. They're pretty low scores.
So the Google one came up again for me down the side.
Yeah.
This one was low, 73% of Google users. So it's
We need to look into that.
we do. I need to work.
But that
out-
is low, 'cause
That is low
normally-
because usually it's like 95%. And then I've got a favorite Rotten Tomatoes, 20% on 83 reviews. So that's actually a rotten rating. And the audience was at 47% on nearly 1,500.
So this is not very well received.
Not at all. Not at all. So that probably leads us into giving our early thoughts on this film.
Yeah.
MJ, go. What are your early thoughts?
I probably agree with the masses. It never really got going for me. I wasn't invested in the Nadira character and her relationship with Leo, and that's kind of the catalyst for the plot. So I couldn't get into it. There was no real sense of urgency or the stakes outside of Leo's own investment, right? So I get that he really needed this and really wanted it, but I didn't feel it myself. So it just felt a little bit too self-indulgent within the world that was created. And it didn't need to be over 2 hours. So I felt like he put too much focus on this world without worrying about characters or plot. I was a lot more invested in Paul Rudd and Justin Theroux's characters, probably more because of their star power. The characters themselves didn't quite fit, I don't think. But I was always hopeful that there'd be more to it. So I was just more engaged in their scenes. But this was a bit of a struggle.
Simo.
I had fairly similar kind of. I, on purpose, went in blind, didn't look at any ratings, and I really struggled with this movie and what I was going for. I felt like it was almost trying to be heavy. There was a lot going on, but I didn't feel invested. I didn't feel like there was a reason for me to kind of. The whole mute thing. I mean, I get it was a plot point, but I don't understand too much where it was going. The Amish thing was okay, but then it was kind of abandoned. Same with MJ. Like I thought the scenes where with Paul Rudd and Justin Theroux with Duck and Cactus were by far the highlights, and I know we'll talk more about some of the things that go on with those two, but they were the only reasons I was like, wanting to watch the movie and finish it. And I I felt like I was watching it for an hour, and I checked and it was 37 minutes. I was like, oh my god, there's a lot left, and I feel like there was like 3 points from I think it's going to end, and then it didn't.
Yeah.
I'm interested to kind of answer, throw through things your way as we go, because maybe I missed some of the stuff, but
I hope that you liked it.
I don't think that you missed a lot of stuff. I feel like on paper there was a lot of stuff in this that they're like, this would be a cool theme, this would be a cool idea, but there was never any follow through with any of it, and never any actual connection to giving some thought about why they've got that there. So I was like, we'll dump this Amish thing in, and then not actually develop it.
The Amish thing was just easy, wasn't it? Like, it's almost like we want to show this guy who's a bit technologically stunted and old school. Oh, let's make him Amish. That honestly is what I felt like. Because it never came back, right?
It's the future in a world where they can, make him speak, but he's mute. Why is he still mute? And then they said, well, this is Amish. Is that it?
Yeah, it was a religious thing with his family. They decided not to give him the surgery.
Yeah, I've got a bit about that later on. I don't want to give it out in the early thoughts. So yeah, I did think this was visually stunning though. Like I thought the look of the film was really, really good, but it's sort of one of those same old sort of stories. And like you guys mentioned, it was half an hour longer than it needed to be.
Yeah.
Way too long. So looks like we're all going to be on a similar sort of page.
Yeah.
Let's look at some characters. MJ, give us a character that you'd like to discuss.
I think it's probably important to start with Leo.
Sure.
Obviously difficult to have a character who doesn't have any dialogue in a film, but
extremely.
He was this. I had a bit of trouble trying to figure him out. To me, he seemed like this beacon of loyalty. But how much of that is the fact that probably no one else has given him the time of day as Nadira has? Like, he was completely obsessed with her and making sure she's okay and saving her, when I got the vibe that they'd only been dating for a small amount of time. And
yeah.
Because he didn't even know her address and he'd never been to her house and all that kind of stuff. But he was particularly violent without ever really thinking about his consequences. And I think that was almost like this childlike aspect to his character. And I think that's, as we were talking about, a similar place to where that Amish angle comes in. Like, they wanted him to seem really stunted. But that just didn't really work for me. And I don't think he worked as this anti-hero type character. I think you're supposed to think like, oh, this guy, he doesn't really want to be a hero. Not really a conventional hero, but he's a hero. I'm like, I don't know if he is. Like, I don't know. It was a really, really interesting, strange, weird character to lead a film.
Yeah, I couldn't understand or think realistically why they needed to make him mute. This film could have been, possibly even better if he spoke the whole film.
Definitely, and he could have just been like this quiet guy.
Yeah. And it makes it extremely difficult for Skarsgård to actually perform as the character, because he's got to be over emphasizing all the emotions and all the facial expressions, and then you don't really get into him as a character because you don't actually know anything about him, so you're offside with him straight away. So to have him as the lead role, it's really tricky. And he had that, to me, he just had this one track mind that he was in love and he'd do anything to sort out the girl, and you didn't know anything else about him. And that, what about some background about, they set up that he's Amish and his family didn't operate. They set up that he's supposed to not be a violent person, but straight away you see him being violent. So that goes against the whole setup of that
violence comes so easy to him.
And, what about some background on the family? Like, does he still hold it against them for not operating? Like, you've got a good character development you could have had that just isn't there.
He had a sister, didn't he, as well?
Like, where are they? What are they doing? Yeah. Why don't we know about them?
And how much had the world changed in, the 30 years it took him to grow up?
Yeah.
I got 30 years, a long time.
What about you, Simo?
Along the similar, I don't think him being mute kept him from being likable, but it did keep, you getting attracted beyond that kind of initial stage and development. I thought it was hard to get connected to his motivations, as you said, to find Nadira, as much as, just upon that base level that he loved her. I think there was a few times with Luba and I think a couple other characters that, like, she's not doing these things for me. Why would she be doing it for you? It was just a little bit weird. I thought he was fine, but again, like, the relationship between him and Nadira and everything about him, it was hard to get too deeply involved with, and
which you're supposed to, aren't you? Right? Like, if you really want to like this film, you're supposed to be into that relationship.
The film's him.
Yeah, exactly. The whole story is about him finding her, and if you don't care about that, then you're gonna struggle.
Yeah. Who have you got next?
Cactus Bill.
Cactus.
I struggled to see Paul Rudd in a dislikable role, to the point where I constantly found myself giving him the benefit of the doubt when he was being a dick, because it just kind of blended with his normal humor. And I actually also think that was deliberate in the casting of Paul Rudd, that you were supposed to be a bit ambiguous with Bill, because he had this moral compass, and then all of a sudden he would just do stupid, heinous stuff.
This is his second Netflix original film too, Paul
It
Rudd.
is, yeah. So Paul Rudd's climbing up the ladder of our. I don't think I've had anyone who's done more
We
than
need a
3.
tally of how many people are in each one.
Yeah, we should actually. There's a couple that have been in 3, so.
Yeah.
But like, because he calls out Dark about his borderline pedophilic actions, and then you think like, this guy's all right. Like he's gonna make some good decisions, and then you find out that he just like murdered his daughter's mother. I think because of jealousy. It just wasn't justified, and I didn't think you were being clever with this reveal of this character doing that. I mean, so yeah, at the end you're like, this guy's a dick, but I feel like that was supposed to feel like they were pulling the rug from beneath your feet, but it just didn't. It didn't work, and it didn't fit, and it felt stupid, to be honest.
Yeah, for me, the setup of his character was that he wanted to get back to America with his daughter.
Yep.
And that was his sort of character arc, but I didn't understand why he wanted to get back home so desperately when you're told as an audience that his ex-wife's back. So he's got an ex-wife, he's got a woman here with a child. He kills, like you said, he kills her, the mother of the child, and like, why is he going? What's the need to go back home?
Yeah.
To me that didn't work, and I thought a lot of his scenes where he's abusing or yelling or at other characters is just off too. Like, yeah,
It was a weird character.
so
Well, my understanding was the reason he couldn't go home because he was a surgeon enlisted, and he was what I got potentially part of this 150, or he was AWOL, and he.
Yep.
So my whole thing was, there's reasons why he can't go home, and he's always wanted to go back home, and like that was kind of motivating a lot of the things he did. I mean, the way I got it was he killed Nadira. I don't know if it was jealousy, but more that she was a barrier for him to get back home. Is that?
I don't know, because the way he was sort of camped out watching her and Leo that night before he drugged him and took her, didn't feel like it felt more like but I don't know, because I didn't feel like it was really jealousy either, but I don't think she really was a blocker, was she?
And I didn't get the impression that she was even sort of on the scene for the child.
They didn't show that at all.
So
Because I was confused, but then there was that scene where he was talking to her when she was obviously suffocating in that bag.
Yeah.
And then, and I think you said something along the lines like you thought you could keep my daughter away from me or take it away and stuff like that.
Well, maybe that is more. It actually makes more sense if that.
But as a character, I found him the most interesting part of the whole movie. I thought
Absolutely, yeah.
It was interesting. He did, he went from 0 to 100 to being a very, kind of likable, larrikin, fun, and his friendship with Duck was quite, endearing, and then, you had scenes like the bowling alley, when he pushed his fingers and then he would just kind of switch to this,
He could switch,
almost psychotic madman, and then that paves the picture for the actions and stuff that we get at the end. But I felt that the scenes with Paul Rudd playing characters Bill were the only ones that I seemed to like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
who have you got next?
Duck.
Yep.
Man, that was a weird character.
I don't understand why you needed the pedophilia thing for him as a character.
No.
It was just like, I didn't get it.
Me too, but then was it the thing at the end with we wouldn't call it a twist, but him taking the daughter, and there was that feeling, okay, he's got bad intentions with Cactus's daughter because he's got pedophilic.
It was a big leap to go down that path. Like, that's a big decision to just, all right, we're going to touch on pedophilia in this film and not really do much with it.
No.
They just kind of put it out there.
Because at the start, obviously, when he was in the brothel, and then he's talking to the
He
girl,
likes the girls who look young,
and he's like, don't spoil this for me, you're 16, in quotations. I'm like, okay, what's up?
Yeah.
And then when he runs a clinic where he has, prosthetic replacements, and then he kind of lined up the girl from behind, and, this girl was very young. I was like, okay.
The bowling alley before as well, when there's the girl bending over the
schoolgirls.
The schoolgirls to pick up the bowling balls. Like, they put it throughout a lot, and I was like, I don't know if you need those, why, to be a character that you dislike, you don't need to make him the scum of the world. Well,
that's the thing. I mean, similar to Cactus Bill, he was kind of enigmatic and engaging on screen. Like, I thought it was a really strong performance from Theroux, similar to Paul Rudd, and he completely owned it. The fact that this guy was pretty fucked up. So I just had issues understanding his intentions. So, like, spell this out for me. At the end, when he doesn't save Bill, and you know what, Bill's probably beyond saving, I get that. And then he obviously turns the monitor
So he can watch.
go to the room. So this is a terrible betrayal in a guy's your friend's last moments of his life, whether he's going to do anything or not. Like, he's insinuating that you know, you can't stop me now, mate.
Yeah.
But then he really dirties up at Leo and like demands an apology from him because he killed Bill. Is that what he wants an apology for?
See, this is where I have all my questions.
So I think that's him trying, because he sent the text message to
Yeah,
Leo.
I got that.
So I reckon that's him trying to deal with he's actually the cause of it, and he wants someone else to blame for it rather than himself.
But I swear he was saying apologise.
Yeah, because he wants that blame not to be on him, so he wants him to own up and say, yeah, you were the one that killed him, not me. Whereas because he was the reason that he found him.
So it was for his own.
Yeah, and my thing was the whole reason why he put his voice box in at the end, because
so he could say
tell me you're sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, none of that worked for me. That last 15 minutes, like,
didn't need it.
It did not need it at all.
No, after the house, like, you finish in that house and you're done. Like, you didn't need.
He was good to watch at times. Like, as I said at the start, like the scenes with him and Bill were, and as you touched on as well, Simo, they were good scenes, because I think I was always expecting more from those characters, but at the end, the film finishes like, what is this guy? Like, what am I supposed to think of him?
Again, like, in a similar way that the characters felt like, he almost had, like, you saw two sides of him, and I thought that, you know, scene where he watched him die, was like, you should have treated me better, and things like that. Like, I thought that was quite good. Like, I thought he played out this character.
But death is such a big thing, right? You should have treated me better, but you're still my best friend, but you're going to die.
And I found it really weird, like,
surely you kill the pedophile first.
Well, what's this film saying, right?
And I felt like they were talking, and then it's always he called him babe all the time. So I'm sorry, babe, and I'm like, it was weird. It was, again, it was like the reason this movie wasn't like turned off at halfway, and my commitment to the Flick.
All right, let's move on. Next character.
I actually like that. Surely you kill the pedophile first.
Surely you do.
If you're going to give us his character, you need to tell me what you think about pedophilia. Oh, you killed him? Okay, pedophilia is bad.
Just make it clear.
Because I'm unsure.
I was saying, the director's like, I need to make sure people don't think I like pedophilia. Just kill him.
Because there was no need to put it in the movie.
Not really.
No, there wasn't.
Nah.
All right, I got Luba down.
Yeah,
me too.
To me, Luba's just this character who was there to keep Leo on the journey. It was literally like he turned up every sort of step or clue that he found. It was like Luba was there to, so you could ignore Cactus as being it was just this obvious device to make your mind off Cactus from being the person that's doing anything.
Yeah, in a sense. I think he's also an example of Nadira being completely out there on her own before you know she's dead. If this guy knows nothing about her, who seems to be her only friend who lives with her, then something's up, and he's kind of like that beacon of I don't know where she is, and even though we're friends, he kicked her out to the curb so quickly, like, you know, she owed me money, and, you know, why would she follow you? Like, he seemed to just forget about her straight away, which made you think, if Leo doesn't find Nadira, she's completely screwed. That was kind of the only other reason that he was really in it.
Yeah,
I thought Leo was interesting.
Yeah, he was interesting.
But now that you kind of say it to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's probably why he was there, to kind of progress the story and maybe kind of divert from, because would you call it a twist at the end? No,
I think it was supposed to be.
I think it was supposed to be.
We've had a few issues with the Netflix films where before the end they like go back to this, like they have this scene where, you know, the skyline, you know, did this twisty thing. It's like, I thought, oh, maybe they're going forward in time, and I'm like, oh no, they're going back. Like they some weird devices.
What about when Leo's in the back room and he opens up the freezer or whatever and there's nothing in there, and you're like, we saw her get put in a bag.
Yeah.
Like, don't give us this like fake reveal. You just got to keep looking.
And then it's just next to the freezer. Yeah. I thought there were some times where I think you're assumed to make a leap in some of the story plots just because it's the future. Like, there's like, oh, do you like my new fake boobs or whatever? You can have them if you want. And watching it, you're just like, okay, it's the future. They can do that. Like,
and a few for what it's worth, there wasn't anything that they leaped too far and it didn't work. They just did some things that didn't work.
Yeah. I just keep saying, there's things I'm like, oh, me finding out about these things would be more interesting than the actual movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last one I've got there is Nadira.
Yeah.
Just thought you need to briefly touch on it because
You do.
You barely saw her on screen, but everyone was in love with her. Like Cactus, Leo, Luba. Like, if you've got all these characters that are fighting or arguing over her, like, what was so good about her?
Good question.
Like, what? Like, just give me something to prove me apart. Like, you see that she's really nice to Leo and his, inability to speak. But apart from that, you don't see any other, I don't know, reasons for people to be, so in love with her.
Yeah. They do a decent job of actually making her really flaky and uncommitted to Leo, despite... I think you believe that she has real feelings for him. So there's that element of unknown about her, which I think is important that they keep an element of unknown.
Yeah.
So her disappearance is believable.
Yeah.
So you sit there and go, I can understand how this girl's got caught up in something because she was always there was something missing where she wasn't telling you everything, and it made sense.
Again, it was another one of those things where she's just about to tell. She's like, I've got these things going on with me, and then they get cut off, and it's like.
So was she going to say like, I've got this kid with this guy? Was that going to be her story, or was it going to be something else?
I thought that maybe the story more was that she was a call girl on the side.
Okay. Oh yeah, true.
Yep.
Because the Cactus Bill thing was actually a twist for me when they revealed when that daughter, his daughter was also Nadira. I didn't know that. I didn't see that coming, and I'm like, of course, you bloody. I was trying to think, what are the connections between these two characters? Like, are we just watching
the whole time.
two stories side by side? And I'm like, oh, well, that's quite obvious. But that was good. I enjoyed that little twist.
Have you got any other characters? No.
I think we've covered everyone that had more
all
than 3 lines.
So we spoke before about Duncan Jones, the director. Interesting sort of timeline. You mentioned Moon and Source Code, like pretty well received films.
Good films, yeah.
Yeah, good films. And then went on to do Warcraft, which was panned but did huge numbers in China.
But that's your payday, isn't it?
Huge numbers in China.
You do your films for you, and then you get your pay. Yeah.
Cast, okay.
Cast was great.
Yeah.
Like, it's a good cast.
Yeah. I like Skarsgård.
How many Skarsgards are there?
It's a good question. There's Bill, there's
Bill
Alex.
Alexander, and obviously the dad. He's in the Thor movies.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, because I didn't know too much of Skarsgård, and obviously like It and everything come up. And when I came into this movie, obviously we don't talk about, and then I'm like, Skarsgård, like
True Blood, mate.
This is True Blood.
True Blood all over.
Eric Northman.
Good old Eric. He was always good. All right, I think it's time we look at some scenes.
I've got another True Blood reference later on.
Oh, good. All right, scenes. What did you like, Simon? Tell us some scenes that stood out for you.
So I struggled. It wasn't even that I felt like there was a lot of good or bad. There were just kind of scenes, but there was a few that were okay. I thought obviously the whole play on him being a mute, and they play up. He has to take that breath in before he drinks, because I'm assuming that drinking water, like, he can't even yell, like it's all like sore for his throat. But when he did find Nadira and he held the body, and and then he had that like voiceless scream that he did to the screen, I thought that was quite powerful. It built up to something that I felt the most connection with that character then. And then the scene where Paul Rudd was lying on the floor dying with the knife through his throat, and Duck's talking to him about, you should have treated me better. I can't take you to the hospital because you know what's going to happen. Like, they got too many questions. So I thought they were the two of the better ones.
Good pickups.
And I think you said about it actually being visually stunning.
Yeah.
I thought some of that was alright. They weren't good scenes, but the one where he stole the car and he was chasing the hovercraft, it just kind of looked good. Felt a little drive for me, like.
That looked cool, and I was a little bit confused at start. I'm like, why are we getting all these awesome shots of the scene? And then I'm like, he's following that.
I thought that as well.
Taxi,
I'm like, what is he doing with his head? He's like, look at what driving like this.
Yeah,
I thought that too.
It took me a while to pick up,
Same.
which is bad if that takes you a while to work out why the character's going.
It could be on us though.
I was there for that one. I was going to say, I reckon as we go on, there's going to be a lot of things that you say, and I'm like, oh yeah. But I was there for that one.
MJ.
I've got some similar stuff to Simo. I liked it when the first time when he was screaming underwater, mainly because that's the first time he really showed any emotion. And before that, I thought he was like this robotic sort of character. He still kind of was, but I think my favourite scene was where Bill lectures Duck about all that pedophilic stuff. I thought Paul Rudd in that scene was fucking electric. And then they had that rise of the music combined with obviously the seriousness of the situation. You can't have that conversation without it being deadly serious. And that's when you really agree with Cactus Bill's moral compass. So that I love that scene. I thought it was really good, and not for one second did I think that Duck was going to stop being a pedophile or whatever he was. But such a great scene. And then finally, I want to say final scene, but unfortunately it wasn't the final scene because it kept going. But the intensity of the scene where Leo discovered Nadira and he killed Bill, I was in on that scene from the very start. I thought that was really, really good. But that's all from me.
I've got very little to add. Like I mentioned, I didn't like a lot of Cactus's lines, but there was this one scene where he's sitting in a cafe and there's this elderly lady and they're talking about cookies and biscuits and stuff, and then he's like had enough of her and he just has a go at her and he's like, if you don't shut up, I'm going to stick something up your snatch.
What is it? I'm gonna shove this mug so far up your snatch you're gonna have a third ear or something like that.
Good memory. I was just like, I was like, who says that to someone? But yeah.
But you know what? How rude was she as well?
She was trying to be nice.
Yeah, I thought she was. Why was she sitting there? Firstly, she's sitting on his table. Secondly, she is eavesdropping to that entire conversation. That's why you said it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because they're talking and she's just staring at them like completely gobsmacked for what they're saying.
To be fair,
you're right. That was funny.
It's hard not to be gobsmacked.
I know.
I was like, wow.
Well, that was the humor of the scene, wasn't it? There's like this random person sitting there and they're just talking liberally about what they're going to do.
That scene was funny.
That was a good scene. Yeah. They were really good together, Justin Theroux and Paul Rudd.
All right, what was
it?
Not? Yeah, that's why I was scraping the barrel. I was like, what moment did I think was okay? Simo, give us something that you'd rather forget.
I'm trying to go through. I just got like lots of questions. It's not like I had scenes that I'm like, that was a bad scene. It was just a scene. It was like a nothing thing. I didn't kind of get a lot of stuff that was at his house. Like I thought they'd kind of build on that Amish thing, but it was just him and
they didn't at all.
Like
did they?
it was just nothing there. Some of the scenes with like the Russian gangsters and stuff like that and the torturing was, I don't know if it was a bad scene, but it was kind of a bit cringe. But
ripping the bullets out of the legs, and
I thought that one was okay. Some of the banter that they had was quite good. But I think it was just a lot of the scenes with Nadira and Leo where there wasn't like something fun or like something happening that they just kind
dialogue,
of they just didn't land.
What about when they're just sitting in the park and they got the phone out and then they just project their images on the screens around them? Like,
it's kind of cool, that wasn't it?
I thought it was cool as the flying Uber Eats. That
was cool.
We're probably not too far off.
I was going to say
drone
food.
Yeah.
MJ, what have you got?
Initially, when Leo was obviously looking for Nadira and he ends up at that bloke's apartment with all that weird makeup on. Well, I don't quite understand why he abused him and like shoved him around when, to me, that was at a point where we didn't know anything that was happening and he didn't ask, obviously couldn't ask, but he could have got more answers out of that guy, right?
Because he found the photo.
Yeah. He found all this stuff and then he just like shoved him on the bed and walked off. And I'm like, why don't you try and get more information from this guy? And obviously that just didn't work with the plot. They wanted him to go to more places.
I feel like it's harder to flesh out the ones on what he's trying to get when he was mute. Like they had to kind of show the photos. And he's like, all right, I've got as much information I can.
No.
That scene was weird too because those two robot sex dolls in the bed.
That's
weird.
Right. Yeah, and he turned them on.
Yeah, that was really weird and random.
I've got the scene that I meant we talked about. Like, I didn't like when Duck left Bill to die and turned the screen on the little girl. That was a bit much for me.
Yep.
Leo laying outside with Nadira's corpse, just laying under the tree,
just watching the videos together on the game.
But you know what? That was. Oh, we need to keep Leo on here because Duck's going to go sort him out. Like, I just don't think that would have happened. If it was real, I don't think he'd just wander outside, sit in the backyard.
Probably would have left.
Absolutely would have left, but they needed him to stay there whilst all this other stuff was going on.
We've got another 20 minutes we want to make.
And the whole breathing underwater thing, how he's obviously worked to this point where he's got this really good tank to breathe underwater. That was so obviously going to come back at some point. Like, they made it way too obvious that, like, this is, like, his little thing. And when it happened, I was like, come on. It was such a bad final death scene. Like, it was just terrible.
Because it was very predictable.
It was so...
They just park on a bridge and...
Park on the bridge, and then he's also like, there's a gate here, by the way, on the bridge, like there is on every bridge. He just opened the gate, and he's going to push him in the water. I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen here.
Was Leo just meant to be just, like, kind of semi-conscious or...
Yeah, because he definitely was really battling to, like, stay awake. but then he obviously had a fair bit of strength to do what he did at the end. So yeah, that didn't work for me. In fact, 3 of those scenes there are from after Bill dies. That's how bad the ending was. I thought it just got worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. Leo making that bed in his garage, a bed for him and Nadira to have. I was like, this is literally so he can have this cool weapon to go and smash people with. That was all that was for. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you didn't know that at the time, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Making a bed. What's wrong with the one you've got upstairs? And like they didn't really have any closure because like he was obviously really talented with his sculpting and like he's always rolling those little sculpted balls. And
sculpting and drawing. Super talented.
And is wood like a commodity in the future that only like he is using? Like
possibly.
And the Amish people.
Yeah, because it just felt like that people were like, oh, wood. Like
I sort of have a bit of a question with that too because like obviously at the bar he rolls one of those wooden things to Nadira, and then at the end he gives one to the girl.
Yeah.
And she had a bracelet. Did she already have one on the bracelet? So so the mum had already given her their one. Okay, so then you're supposed to know that she had been catching up with the daughter then.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Like we mentioned,
and I think that goes back to then one of the reasons why he killed her. Maybe Paul, the Cactus Jack. Because
that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Because we talked about Cactus Bill only having an intention to get back to America. Maybe that was the one thing standing as well. Well, amongst other things, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, we mentioned this. All the scenes with Duck being gross, the bowling alley, the treadmill, the room with the cameras.
The treadmill was bad.
The treadmill was bad. Yeah, it's just really awkward.
I was like, how much are you going to show here? Because this is a proper little girl.
And the mum was in the room too.
She was just so happy that she was getting a leg. Yeah.
Which was believable.
The scene at the mall when they get drunk at the sort of the diner, the American bar, and then like he steals some nuts, and then he just has this stash with the security guard. Like I was like, why? Like we already know that he can lose it pretty quickly. Like we don't need further evidence of that happening. And finally, this is the scene in the basement, and then the Nicky guy's on the table, and he goes and gets him off and says, get an escape or whatever. Yeah. And then he goes up the stairs, and then Cactus kills him, and then he's like, oh, these stairs are gonna kill you. I'm like, come on.
I completely forgot about that guy.
Well, because when they had that shot on the table with the sheet over it, I was like, oh, maybe that's the girl. And then like on the subtitles it said Nikki Mumbles. I was like, okay, so it's Nikki.
Not to mention that we saw her in a fucking plastic bag. Like they did these things where they were like trying to.
My whole thing was like, even up to the end, I'm like, is she still alive? We kind of like half saw her die, but at the same time, like, is she alive? But
because he gave you too much information, and then he tried to like go, hey, what do you reckon? It's like, you just showed me what it was. Like,
what's this movie trying to say? What are some things? I think this was trying to say a lot and didn't do a very good job of it. Is my overall opinion. What have you guys?
I think that's a great point. I think any message in this film is pretty slim because they didn't put enough into anything.
No.
I think that the example of loyalty, particularly when you look at Leo versus Duck, for example, who's loyal, who's not loyal. Duck's extremely unloyal. Leo is insanely loyal, and things work out much better for Leo. So, and that's kind of the main commentary that I got out of it. So I thought it was pretty flimsy from a theme perspective.
Yep.
I mean, the only thing where they felt like trapped in a world they wanted to get out of, like obviously. He was working bar at a strip joint. She was a call girl on the side, and they were kind of like trapped in almost poverty in this new world that. I thought like the whole depiction of the future felt a bit cliche. Sometimes we get there's cities with the neon signs and the hover cars and the kind of police that are very like authoritarian and like we're in this society. I don't know, it just felt all a bit cliche. And
like a sci-fi film like with technology, it's like. It usually has something to say about the technology, whereas this one was just like, we've got a guy who's Amish who is old school, and then we've got technology, which is new school like this world, and that's it. Let's just jam that down your throat.
That's exactly what it was, wasn't it?
That's all it was. Again, it's got that underlying sort of thing where you've got these US troops in a place they shouldn't be again. We've had that a lot.
Yeah.
And, the water too, like, it was like, almost like, the opening scene is, he becomes mute from the water. He constantly is drinking, using water, and then that allows him to escape at the end. Yeah. And it was just, I don't know, I just wasn't a massive fan of that.
How many Netflix films have had significance with water?
This one's the worst. I saw this one online, and I didn't mind this one because I hadn't thought about it in this context. But it said Someone said the movie's about children who are silenced by their parents and society. And that
literally,
yeah,
that works.
Yeah, well, it works not badly because
Going to the silence, I think that's all like the one scene. It felt like what the daughter is Josie.
Josie, yep.
And our main character,
Leo,
both speak for the first time in the whole movie at the same time. And I've like significance for that in terms of your theme.
Yeah, I've got some questions about that for our question section.
Yeah.
How long does your question session usually go for when you do the podcast?
Not that long.
Oh,
you got heaps.
Depends how you want to answer them.
Yeah. All right, we need to keep moving then. So, what did we take away from this
I don't
film?
mind that theme though.
Yeah.
Did you say you found that online?
I did. Like,
That's good.
yeah,
Oh, but you're going to poke holes in it soon, so
a little bit. All good. So, no, not poke holes, but add to it, I think. So, what do we take from this film? What do you think?
So for me,
Yeah.
this film was about the futuristic world that was being created, and there was not enough thought put into character motivations or messages that you take away from it. It's like they wanted to create the next Total Recall or Blade Runner, but they just missed the key ingredients that make those films good.
Yeah.
Like, Total Recall is not good because it's based in the future. It's good for a host of reasons about the fact that what a cool concept, what a cool character. With that said, the world was pretty cool though. The tech stuff was pretty cool, and a couple of scenes were pretty cool. But like nothing more than that, and nothing that I'm really going to take away or remember. So I reckon hardcore sci-fi fans probably going to still eat this up. So
I like sci-fi and no.
No, okay.
Like the set, like I said, the set pieces were
yeah.
cool, but I like sci-fi for the messages that it has, or
exactly
the commentary that it has, and this didn't have much.
There'll be people that don't care about that. They just want to see the cool stuff, and they want to see movie stars.
Well, I don't know about what do we got? 20% on Rotten Tomatoes.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's 20% of them.
So,
I felt like it was setting me up to say that I should be taking something away from this film, and there was nothing there for me. I don't know if I missed it, but even like beyond visually and some of the fun Paul Rudd scenes, it was an hour and a half too long.
Oh, so it should have been half an hour movie.
Sure.
That's not the way to say. Sorry, there was only 30 minits of it that I was really like engaged in.
Say,
There was an hour and a half of filler. For
Okay.
me.
All right. So on our show, we discuss if we've jumped on IMDb to look anything or anyone up. MJ.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
There was a character called Rob who was one of the guys at the start who like abused Nadira, and then Leo. There was a black guy and a white guy. He was the white guy.
Yep.
I don't know how else to like say him because he kind of just antagonized Leo, right? So I was looking at him like, who is this guy? And he is from True Blood.
Okay.
So he would have been with Alexander Skarsgard actually.
Probably got him the job.
He played a character called Macklin Warlow, who had a brief relationship with Suki in the film, but I think he turned up being in the show. I think he ended up being evil. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, man, you are so familiar. And as soon as I looked, I'm like, oh, that guy.
Ah, good.
It was the perfect IMDb kind of category.
Yeah, it's a good one. Simo?
His name's Robert Kaczynski.
Robert Kaczynski. Hi, Robert, if you're listening.
I had one.
Yeah.
And I felt very, very confident that I didn't have to IMDb it, but I did just to make sure.
Nothing wrong with that. I do that all the time. It's still screwed up.
Paul Rudd is in I Love You Man.
Good movie.
He's Ant-Man.
So, the person who was in the Japanese kabuki, is that how you say it, makeup, who had the robot sex dolls. Dominic Monaghan, is that how you say? Mary from Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings,
yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Straight away, the way you're screaming, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know who that is. So that scene was interesting. It was an interesting choice of him to play that one, but
Probably only had him for a day as well. How can we use him?
that was the only one.
I didn't go on IMDb, but I looked up something. There's a scene where Leo goes and talks to Josie's grandma.
Yes.
And the grandma on the subtitles it says she's speaking in Pashto. I was like,
All right.
I was like, I know of that, and I'm like, and I looked it up just to confirm it's Afghani.
All right.
I couldn't work out why she's in the middle of Germany speaking Afghani, but
It was a very multicultural film, though.
yeah.
I think a lot of the sci-fi futuristic kind of ones, they play on the fact that, it's very multicultural and,
I just had no gist whatsoever that whatever her name was, Nadira was Afghani. Yeah. Cool. All right, question time. Simo, you've been holding us up for these. I'm looking forward. What have you got? Ask away.
Who are the 156? So on the TV, and you said something about the moon.
Yep.
They had about, the 156. They're going to meet their maker. They said free the 156. I mean, I got the feeling it was like a ex-military. They played on that.
It's strictly from Moon, and I was going to bring this up, but it spoils Moon. And I don't think we're in the game to spoil another movie.
Spoil Moon.
Okay.
But
so we'll leave it as
completely relevant to Moon.
Okay.
And didn't impact the plot for this. But it's a good question.
What are the things that they carry around their neck that's like a button, and
Okay.
a few of them press it sometimes?
I've got that in here as well. So to me, that was like the new technology of mobile phones. It was literally for them to communicate with each other. So they made this big deal about Leo, being poor with technology, and she got him the most basic phone ever. Surely just chucking that around his neck would be a lot. I guess he's mute, so there you go. I answered my own question.
His phone rings and he picks it up.
Okay.
She's like, "Are you there?"
Okay, so that makes more sense.
Okay. I feel like we do now.
There was a few times where, even in that, where he's calling him out to be a pedophile, was it when he's throwing it and then he's talking to the guy? So that's just to saw that stuff. But it felt like they were like pressing it and it was weird.
Cool. Okay, that answered my own question.
That was good.
What else?
Why didn't you give
I
letter?
didn't want a question, but I'm like, okay, he's mute. We're gonna see him like speak sign language or do something. And at the end, he kind of makes the motion, "Do you want food?" to his mouth, and then that was it. There was like just
He did it like once or twice at the start as well. But you're right.
I mean, that obviously they play on their
Underutilized.
notepad,
Yeah.
and he uses that a lot. I don't know if that's like a mechanic, but
You would think he'd be very good at, but mind you, if he's good at sign language, it doesn't mean anything if no one else knows it.
Yeah.
yeah. But I think you'd hope Nadira would want to learn. Like,
I'm pretty sure they've been dating for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's the vibe that I got.
And the only other one was the syndicates. So we got that scene where you went in with Nikki and they're at that kind of like Korean barbecue bar.
I think I've got this as well. Yeah.
And then there's like, I've got the syndicates there, and obviously they're, I don't know who they are. I'm like,
Their
I had
eyes were all shut
yeah.
weirdly. I've got that too. I'm like, what was the point of them? Like, why were their eyes
That's
all...
what I mean. This movie was so self-indulgent with this world that they'd created. They put so much focus in just like, hey, how cool is this? Oh, hey, look at this. I don't think there was a lot.
No answer.
That's my answer anyway.
All right, well, I got another one. So this sort of relates back into like society and parents keeping people mute. So we spoke about Josie and Leo. They didn't give any background on Josie, why she didn't speak throughout, or why she was a drawer, or that was it. So do you reckon that's possibly because Duck's been abusing her for a long time?
Did we get a look at what she was drawing?
There was one where she added to that picture that he drew. Leo drew that one, the one of the bears or whatever, and she added an extra one to it. But I'm not sure. So I don't know.
Interesting point,
because I don't understand why she was. Yeah, they didn't give me.
The answer that I kind of thought about her not speaking was to do with the fact that she was always an afterthought for her parents, that she didn't feel loved or cared for and anything like that. I hope that wasn't.
I was going to say, I didn't feel that, but now I want to go back and watch that scene where he was like, "I'll come to Uncle."
Yeah.
But she kind of
Was it Uncle Duck?
Yeah.
She kind of liked him, didn't she?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm just thinking. Okay, you've got this movie called Mute, and you've got this scene at the end that you probably don't need where they both speak. You could have had the movie without them speaking a word, and then you need you understand why he's mute.
Yeah,
if you're gonna have this big closure where she finally speaks, you need to know why she was mute too.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, you know what? When she spoke at the end, it was the first time I realised that she hadn't spoken. Like, I wasn't sitting there going, "Oh, she hasn't spoken yet."
Yeah.
It was when she spoke, I'm like, I don't recognise her speaking. So
Cool. Any other questions?
not for me. No.
All right. Well,
I've got a dog update.
Oh,
though.
good. Love a Bernie and Todd update.
Yeah. Well, I was watching this movie with my 2 dogs, Bernie and Todd, and I didn't even think Todd was watching the screen, but you wouldn't even realise, but a dog walked past at one point in the movie. Like, I didn't even notice it, but Todd went crazy, and I was like, oh, okay, there's a dog. Like, I swear he wasn't even watching this time, and he still picked it up.
Clever dog.
Oh, clever and pain in the ass.
So we're at the stage where I think we're going to wrap this up. We each give a rating out of 5 for the film, and then work out what our overall average for Flix Forum is. MJ, would you like to start us off with what you think?
I think that without a couple of Hollywood A-listers, this film would have fallen pretty flat for me. There was too much emphasis on creating this world, not enough on character motivations or the plot to be engaging enough. So slogging through over 2 hours for such a wishy-washy ending was a tough beat. 2 stars.
2 stars. All right. Simo.
Along the same line, I guess when I said before I could have done without 90 minutes of this movie, that's probably a bit harsh. But at the same time, the multiple times for the movie I checked and I'm like, I couldn't believe how long was to go. I didn't know where it was going, and I feel like I'm trying to remember what I gave Bomb Scared, because I actually liked that movie, not too, like, it was alright, so, but I have down 1.5. Is that too mean?
No, that's nothing wrong with the 1.5.
I didn't
What
judge
did you
it.
give Bomb Scared? Probably 1.5 as well?
No, I'm thinking I gave that at least 2.
Okay.
So that's why I wanted to go a little bit lower, because
Yeah.
Bomb Scared was better than this movie.
All right. Well, I'm not a fan of this because I do like sci-fi, and this one had no underlying theme on what was actually going on in the world, and that's why it didn't work for me. I agree it was too long. It didn't really connect with any of the characters, so there wasn't much for me in this as well, and I'm also giving it 1.5. So that gives us an average of a 1.6 or 1.7.
I didn't think...
1.66. Do we
I
round
didn't
up?
think
I don't
I'd
know.
give
Do we
that
round up?
1.67.
1.66.
1.67.
No, 1.67. Whatever.
Well,
we
if you
give
want
it.
to round...
Heaty used to do that.
We go up to 1.7.
If it's 1.66 what?
66666.
Oh, then you can go up to...
All right, we'll go to 1.7. Maths specialties.
I definitely didn't think I'd be giving this the highest rating out of the 3 of us.
I didn't either. All right, well, we are on social media. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram. We like to put posts up there this week, just in the general theme of this film. What
This
would
week, this day.
this day? Oh, geez, sorry, day. Nearly there. We're nearly at the end. Blade Runner or Blade Runner 2049? If you had to pick one.
That's your question. I haven't seen Blade Runner 2040.
Well, you can't answer that question. Unfortunate.
Well, no, I think Blade Runner was great.
Blade Runner. They are both great films, so I find it difficult.
Second one's good, is it?
Second one's good.
Yeah,
it's
I
good
should
fun.
see it. I should get it.
Yeah.
I'll have to watch the first one.
Watch them. Yeah. Which cut are you gonna watch though? There's lots of different
I've
cuts.
watched the director's
Director's cut, the final cut, the
Oh god, okay.
plenty of cuts.
So is this how bad this one was, that the question's not even related to a movie?
Question's
It's
not
talking
The
about
question
about
was
Blade Runner.
related
to the movie.
Yeah, well, it's kind of.
This
it's
was definitely very Blade Runner-ish.
this was very Blade. Like it tried to be Blade Runner,
Yeah,
but it
yeah.
just failed. We're back again tomorrow. We're getting so
We're
close to
so
Christmas.
close.
So close. So close. Tomorrow we have the 2018 Japanese-American crime drama thriller. It's The Outsider. It's directed by Martin Zandvliet, and it stars Jared Leto, Tadanobu Asano, Kapai Shina, Rory Cochrane, Shioro Kutsana, and Emil Hirsch.
Cool.
Emil Hirsch.
Should we see if Simo's around tomorrow as well?
Yeah, it's not that busy time of year. What do you
We'll let you know.
Are you free tomorrow?
We'll let you know. We'll talk about it.
Come in tomorrow.
All right.
We'll see.
When
We'll
I-
see.
Give me the heads up,
Yeah.
and when you re-listen to this one, if you feel like I haven't done too bad, then...
I'm not
I'm
really
not gonna have
listening to
time
it
before tomorrow.
All right. Well, in that case, you don't get to... I'll be here.
Alright, good. We'll see you both tomorrow then.
See you, mate. See you.